Hi, my name's Jason Green and I look after the support and consulting team for Atria. In this video, I'm going to provide you a demo of how to upgrade your Atria deployment. We have an upgrade guide available on our knowledge base for this, and I'll be following this guide as part of the demo. We'll put a link to the guide in the video notes. A few key points to remember before upgrade. Ideally use the same account that you did to install Atria if you have it available. If you've disabled any of the default rules, these may be re-enabled post-upgrade, so you should make a note of those so you can disable them again. If you have a lot of rules that are disabled, you can get in touch with our support team and we can help with some scripts to capture and disable them again. If you're coming from a version below 12.13, so that would be version 12.11 or 12.12, you'll need to obtain your deployment ID. You can get this by contacting our support team. It's also worth checking before you upgrade that your token is still valid, so you can always request for an updated token at the same time as you request your deployment ID. As with any upgrade, always remember to take a backup, and post-upgrade always remember to run some testing such as customer user service provisioning. Right, so we'll get into the demo and I'll show you how to upgrade your platform. Right, so I'm going to start on my provisioning server here. I'm just going to grab the upgrade guide. This is the guide that's available on our knowledge base. I'm just quickly going to show you what happens when your token is out of date. So if I grab a command and I run this on my server, if you see this particular error here where it's mentioning a 401 unauthorized, it does mean your token's expired, but you'll have to request a new token. Once you have the new token, you'll need to follow our install guide and the commands here to load that token into your deployment. So I'll just quickly take care of this and then we'll resume with following our deployment guide. So moving along to our next command, get Atria component list out of date. This one's going to help us see which components are currently out of date. It's going to show us a list here of all the components that we have deployed. Their current installed version, but then also the available version for upgrade. This is the latest version available. So it does show us that we do need to upgrade and that there is a new version available. So we need to grab our next command here, and the first step is to upgrade our config service. So if I grab this command and run this, it will upgrade the config service. It's important to note that I'm running these commands on the provisioning server. The majority of these will be run on the provisioning server. My web components will be run on my web server, as that is a separate server. Okay, now that is complete. Our next command here, so this is to set the Atria registration details. Now, I mentioned in the points before the demo, if you're coming from a version below 12.13, so version 12.11, version 12.12, you will need to obtain your deployment ID from us. Contacting support will be able to send you that ID. It's required only once in the environment, and because I deployed at version 12.13, I've already set this, so I can skip this step. So if you've already done it once, all subsequent upgrades, you don't need to complete this step. So I can move on now to the database. Okay, that one's complete. Just clear the screen and come back to our list of tasks. So next up after the database is the provisioning component. copy that and run it. Okay, that one's done. Next up is the directory. Okay, that one's complete. So last for our provisioning server here is the platform API. Okay, that one's complete. So that's it on our provisioning server to this point. Next up we need to do our web server. I'll step back to my web server and do this as it's a separate server, but I am domain joined, so I can use this version of the command. If you are not domain joined, then you need to pass some additional credentials in to run it, and you can use these steps down here. So just move back from my provisioning server, come back to my web server, and if I run this web update, we'll update this component. Okay, so that's the web component updated. So I'll just step back to my provisioning server and our guide. We can skip remote location, we don't currently have one of those. So next up we will be looking at services. So in our, obviously our primary location on our provisioning server, we can do an import Atria service schema and the services one by one, or we can do an import Atria service schema installed. This will do all of the currently installed schemas. So this is the easy one to do, so it's the one I recommend running. Run that and any schemas on this server will get updated. Okay, so that's the schemas done. So next up, it's recommended, and it's important that you do this, we need to IIS reset both our provisioning and web server. So we'll run this first on provisioning. Okay, and now we need to do the same on our web server here. Okay, that's done. So next up are web services. What I recommend you do is just jump back to the start of the article here and grab our command which will list out our Atria components and run that. This will again recheck our Atria components, and we can see here the list is now shorter. Our only outstanding component is our MSOL web service. It's important to note that any web service or WS listed component may be deployed on another server. So if it's your Exchange web service, that may be deployed on your Exchange server. So you'll need to make sure you update that web service on that server. In this case, mine's the Microsoft Online service, so I just need to update this on my provisioning server. So coming back down our article here to our services, I can just grab this command and just update this to MSOL. Alright, so we now can run for one more time our get Atria component. As you can see, we're now fully up to date. So as we recommended at the start of the video, you should return to your web server and run some testing. Obviously log into your portal, make sure provisioning users and customers and services is all functioning as you would normally expect. And our upgrade is complete. If there are any other topics you would like to see in a video format from us, please feel free to get in touch. Thanks for watching the video.